Hello guys, I wanted to give a summary of the build here and a recap on how the season has went. So this is a 98 Eclipse all-wheel drive, automatic transmission. It has a 2.4 liter 7 bolt with a 1G 7 bolt head, cyclone intake. I'll put a link to like my wheel well account. I'll try to update it before this video goes out to give all the specific mods. But basically, it's got forged bottom end. One of the recent changes I had was I went from a journal bearing force performance green to a ball bearing force performance green of a newer generation. So this is just came out this year in 2024. And one of the problems I ran into was there were many options for the turbine housings for the FP green over the years. And the one that I had previously was a TD06H turbine wheel. And that was fairly common across both the reds and the greens. You know, you could get a number of wheels for the green, but this generation has a TF06 wheel, which is a slightly smaller wheel. But at the time I didn't know that because it fit inside of this housing. This is a Mitsu housing. The FP board, it has a FP stamp on the flange when it's apart, but it's not an FP casting. I didn't know at the time that it was a slightly smaller wheel, and I put it together and it runs okay. And there's not really a giant issue with it, but I was just trying to figure out, you know, hey, this doesn't use the same wastegate duty cycle settings, or even, you know, it's pretty far off on that. That was the only thing I really noticed. It was kind of lazy on the converter a little bit. It did spool, but it just wasn't as hard as the old one was, like as quick. And it was just having some issues where that was a little different. And after asking around and asking, you know, Robert at FP, he let me know, hey, you know, you need a TF06 housing. So I went ahead and got one on order, and that should be here this week. But, you know, in the meantime, I got to tear it down and fix that. So that was mostly what this video is going to be about. I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with my car, but we built this all ourselves. You know, there's no shops involved. It's just Club Diamond Star. Me and Jared, Andy. I've had some help from some other people. My friend Mark in town. We've all pitched in a little bit, mostly me and Jared, I will say though. Shout out to Jared. But yeah, this year, we tore it down because I had spun 2 bearings last year, and we went ahead and I got the crank polished. The crank was okay. It polished out and was within spec. So I bought new bearings. Andy came over, helped us put it in. We got everything spec'd out. Clearances are good. I cleaned and reassembled everything in the engine myself. And then once it was all together and ready to go, Jared came over, helped me put it back in. While it was out, we went ahead and did the ABS delete. We redid everything on the firewall pretty much has been redone. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with the normal 2G, but everything has been redone. We removed the battery shelf. I had previously done a battery relocation last year, but we hadn't moved the shelf or the bracket or anything that was there previously. Like I had my fuel filter underneath it before, which you can see down there. We had it over there before because it was the most convenient place for it. But, you know, since we redid everything, I redid all the fuel lines. I moved the regulator over here. I moved the fuel filter back there in the firewall so it was out of the way. And with the ABS delete and everything, we ran new lines. I got new lines to the calipers. It's a 3G Master there on the stock booster. And I made this cold air intake this year. That's down in the fender. I could post a picture of that in the video. And we just generally cleaned stuff up as much as we could. Like there's a lot of wiring that was redone. The main bulk of the harness that's under the firewall right there, normally brackets on the edge, is all inside of the car. I had to extend a few wires, the wiper harness being the main one that has to be extended. But I had a couple other things that I did. Reran vacuum lines. I redid all the lines for my brake booster because I have a vacuum pump crammed down there. And I also fixed some stuff with my oil pressure gauge because it had never worked. And the other big thing I did, that if you notice over here, is that the power steering has been deleted. But it hasn't really been deleted. We went with electric power steering. So you can go to the junkyard and get a Volvo pump for really cheap, under $100, and make some new lines or have them made at a hydraulic shop. And you can still have power steering, but not have the pump here anymore. Because it's just such a pain to work on the wastegate and all this down here when there's, a pump right there. So we went ahead and got rid of that. It is now jammed in here where the ABS actuator used to be. So I might have a picture of it that I can post in the video as well. This is the reservoir, so you fill it right there. And the pump itself is down there and it's electric. So it works just as well as a stock one does in my experience. The only thing I would say is it's really loud and it draws a lot more power. Like it drains my battery pretty quick. I am going to change the wiring so that it is no longer just on whenever the key is on, and it is on when, I press a button. I'm probably gonna try the fog light button since I don't have fog lights. But yeah, that's down there. This reservoir that looks suspiciously like a power steering reservoir, that's because that's what it used to be. What I have done is I added an anti-lag racing block vent because I've always had problems with crankcase breathing in this car, and my catch can filling up with goo and moisture, and I just wanted to eliminate all that all apart. So if you look down here, you'll see that big AN fitting that goes to the balance shaft hole, and that is a block vent. So it's a vent just like the valve cover has, but out of the block. And the power steering can here that I've repurposed is the catch can for that. So I specifically set it up this way so that any oil that goes into that can drain right back down. I did observe it on an empty can when I first did this. I used an old oil can. I'll post a picture of that too. It was all just clean oil that was ever put in this. So I didn't see any reason why I couldn't just use this with the fitting on the bottom to allow the oil to drain back down in there as much as it can. And I just used a step bit, popped a little hole and stuck a filter in there. So it worked out really well. And I don't really ever have to empty it. It's got some steel wool to baffle it in there. So oil is kind of slowed down. But so far it seems to work really well. I did a track day at Muncie and no big issues. So, all right, I will get going on starting to get this apart for this turbine housing. I'll go ahead and jump over to the time lapse, and I'll jump in if there's anything interesting happening while I do this. Okay, I thought I'd jump in real quick. So I'm taking turbo bolts out, and I decided I cracked these two front ones loose, but I'm going to leave them in and mostly tight because I have to take all the wastegate and all those bolts off, and it's gonna be moving around all over the place if I don't do that. So I'm just gonna leave those two there for now. They're loose already, and I'll just, take them out when this is ready to all come out. I'm gonna try to leave the turbo in place, so I'll probably end up like bungee cording it to the manifold or something and see if I can fish the whole turbine housing out that way, but we'll see what ends up happening. If I have to take the manifold off, I can. It's not that hard. Like, all the nuts are really easy to get to now without the power steering crap there. All right, a small update. I just got the wastegate out. I try to set it up so I don't have to disconnect it because I don't like taking these lines off. I have clamps somewhere that'll fit those. I just am too lazy to get them. So I just flip it over there. It fits perfectly fine. I took the fan out because it's only these two bolts and it gives you a lot more room. Like, you get all this room here without the fan. The weld there was a get to the track day kind of deal because I heard an exhaust leak. I looked down here and noticed it was cracked. So I didn't have time to take this all apart. I just needed to get it, you know, so it wasn't gonna fall off so it could run. So the plan is I'm going to take that off and grind that down a little better and just make sure that clean it up and make sure I got everything welded up. I just have a little flux core welder, so it's not gonna look like beautiful TIG welds like all that is. But I mean, once it's ground down, you know, and smooth and cleaned up, you can't see it really with the wastegate and stuff in anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. I'm not trying to make a super crazy show car. Just as long as it looks decent and it's fast, you know, that's what I care about. I got the O2 housing out or the O2 sensor out pretty easy. What I got for that, I don't know if anybody's familiar with these, is I got this crow's foot O2 socket. And it works really good for that job, particularly down there. It also works okay if you have a really low car, like, you know, obviously this one is, and you need to get under it, but you don't really have room to swing the ratchet. It kind of gives you a little bit more leverage because you can put the pivot way up higher. Because I've had it where you just can't get a good angle on it with the O2 socket, you know, because the socket's just so long, and with the ratchet on there and then you trying to swing it, it doesn't really fit that well. But with that, you can kind of get it tucked up to the car better. So yeah, if you're ever in a situation where you're like, man, this O2 socket just isn't fitting very good, looking at this goofy little crow's foot thing here, I mean, I want to say it was like 15 bucks or something, you know, cheap at Harbor Freight or whatever. So it's worth it. Just give it a try. I keep cracking on this. I'm going to get all these bolts loosened up. I'm probably not going to get this all done tonight, obviously, because it's kind of hard for me to climb on the ground, and it's been kind of a long day. So I want to get to the point where all of these are cracked loose and it's ready to take the downpipe bolts off. And you know, that's where we'll leave it, because I do want to get this off, obviously, and clean it up. I still hear a leak somewhere. So when I have some help here this coming week, we'll probably, when I'll pick that up and we'll pick up the filming again, we'll go ahead and, you know, get that off and get the downpipe off, and I'll check for where the leaks are and see if it's possible for me to weld them up. So cool, keep going.
What twisted logic makes you bite the hand that feeds? Picked you up and you would fall. In the end, you chose to bite the hand that feeds, so you can suffer all alone. In place, must we do it on our own? The beginning was to suffer, watched you bleed. I tried to see it through it all. By the end, you were completely out of reach. By every stumble, you would fall. What twisted logic makes you bite the hand that feeds? Picked you up when you would fall. In the end, you chose to bite the hand that feeds, so you can suffer all alone. You walk in the room and rebel, howl in May, shouting on the one and four. Misguided logic on the way, the one to blame, an easy target to his soul. Your greatest challenge is racing to face the day. Your first world problems are all wrong, so you take your pills to wear a happy face. I tried to help you, but you're gone. What twisted logic makes you bite the hand that feeds? Picked you up when you would fall. In the end, you chose to bite the hand that feeds, so you can suffer all alone.
Alright, gonna call it a night out here. I can't get that back bolt out in the car. It just flexes my U-joint and the extension and everything. So What I'll do is we'll just take the whole housing and turbine off together, and we'll heat it with the torch and get it off of the impact off the car. It's not a big deal. If I look here and I can see if I can I flip this? I don't know how this shit works. Yeah, apparently I can't flip it. So if I could flip it, I would show you I got new bolts. So no big deal. I mean, if they're a little chewed up, we'll be fine. So signing off until a couple days from now when we can work on this some more. See ya.